Hello and welcome to Carousel of Douglas. Today we're going to do a really quick video on how to get that elusive Rise of the Resistance boarding group. I finally got to ride it back in September, and I'm telling you, these tips work. I even tested them with a random couple while I was there, and we'll talk more about that later. So before we get started, I want to point out that Disney just recently announced they changed the times that you can get the Rise of Resistance boarding groups. It used to be 10 and 2. Now it's at 7 a.m. and 2. And that 7 a.m. one has a little bit different on the rules. You have to have a park reservation, you have to have valid theme park entry, and that's it. You just have to be going into the park that day, and you have to have a valid park entrance. You don't actually have to be physically in the park for the 7 a.m. one. You do for the 2 o'clock one. So my tips today are going to work for both, but they're more geared for that 2 o'clock time when you're trying to get that afternoon boarding group pass. So here are our 5 quick tips on how to get a boarding group. And I'm telling you, I believe these work almost every time. Okay, so here we go. Tip number 1, you need to do no Disney Wi-Fi. Use your cell service. I know a lot of people are like, but the Wi-Fi is faster. Well, it's not really, and it clogs up at the boarding group times, and it's notoriously slow. You try to do a speed test on it, and you're gonna find that it's way slower than you actually are getting with the LTE coverage down there, okay? So, no Disney Wi-Fi, tip number 1. Tip number 2, now that you're on the cell service, you need to find a place away from people. At the 7 a.m. time, if you're still in your hotel or wherever you are, try to be farther away from people. I know that sounds a little strange, why would it matter? But it really does. The cell towers have a little bit more trouble discerning your signal from other signals as it's picking it up, and it actually slows you down. So if you're farther away from people, the signal is a lot stronger and quicker to the tower. So you want to be farther away. If you're in the hotel at that 7 a.m. time, move away from the actual hotel area, find an isolated area, like near a pool. Especially at that time of day, there shouldn't be anyone near that pool. It'd probably be a good place to go. When you're in the parks, I recommend 2 places. The place that I used was right near the Toy Story Land bathrooms, near Alien Swirling Saucers. No one was there when I was doing my group. There was like 3 other groups trying to get it, but there was no other people around us, and it made it really simple. Another good place is near the Disney Junior Dance Party or the Star Wars Launch Bay area, because right now there's really nothing in that courtyard, and so there's not a lot of people. So get to an isolated area away from people, especially when you're in the parks. Tip number 3 is all about having your app ready to go. Make sure that everybody who's going to be in the park with you that day is in your friends and family list. That's number 1. Number 2, make sure that the app is fully loaded. It doesn't need to be there like 2 to 3 minutes before the boarding group time. Just make sure the app is up, loaded. You've pressed that join button on the primary screen, and you're waiting to pick a boarding group, okay? You want to make sure that the entire app is ready to go about 2 to 3 minutes before. Doing that will definitely have you ready to go when the time ticks over. That leads us to tip number 4. This might sound counterintuitive, but don't set an alarm. I know that sounds strange, but the alarm pretty much freezes up your phone whenever it goes off. So you set an alarm for that 7 a.m. or that 2 a.m. time so that you're ready to go. You're not going to actually be ready to go because you have to stop the alarm and then go. And boarding groups go fast. I'm telling you, it's amazing how quickly they fill up. So do not have that alarm set and just be ready to go. Be vigilant. Watch the clock in the corner of your phone. You're going to have to watch it switch over to that 00, and as soon as it does, you gotta go. And the final tip, number 5, be quick, but don't rush. Be deliberate. So very carefully, know where your finger's going. Don't go, oh my goodness, I gotta get it. That's gonna actually slow you down. The process is actually rather intuitive. You go straight from one screen to the next, but be deliberate. Don't rush. The boarding groups seem to have no real rhyme or reason to them and how they load in. When I was doing my boarding group that I got boarding group 39. I was very excited. The guy 5 feet from me, who was doing it at exactly the same time I was, he got boarding group 12. And then a guy about, 3 feet from me got boarding group 51. So like, these boarding groups really have no rhyme or reason. You just gotta go for it and hope you get one. It's really not that hard. And when we were there, the boarding group message came up within 90 seconds from 10 o'clock. One of the cast members from Aliens Swirling Saucers timed it and told us that it was 90 seconds before all the boarding groups are currently full announcement came over. So that's pretty crazy. You just need to be ready to go and follow these tips and you're gonna get a boarding group. I 95% guarantee it. I mean, there has to be a little bit of margin of error, but if you follow these tips, I'm promising you, you have a much higher chance than anybody else. Now, I can unequivocally tell you that these tips also work at that 2 p.m. trial, because when we were in the parks that day, you only can get the one boarding group. We had literally just gotten off Rise of the Resistance. The second boarding group was ready to go at 2 o'clock, and there was a group of people that were saying, oh, I really hope we can get it. This is our only day in Hollywood Studios. And I said, you know what? Try these tips. And I said, go ahead and do it. And so at 2 o'clock, they followed all of my 5 quick tips, and then they got a boarding group. They got boarding group 71, which is actually pretty close to going on at that point in time. And they were so excited. I had them send me the screenshot so you can see it. Yeah, it was pretty nuts. They were able to get that boarding group 71 and at 2 o'clock, which is one of the harder times to get those boarding groups because there's usually more people in the parks by that point in time. And those who didn't get the morning ones are desperately trying to get them at 2 o'clock. So my tips work in the morning and they work in the afternoon. So good luck. After you get your boarding group, I just want to remind you one last thing. You only have 1 hour to get there. Once your boarding group's been called, you get the notification from your app, you have 1 hour to get there. So make sure you get over there as quickly as you can, get on the ride, and enjoy it. Well, that's it. That's my 5 quick tips on how to get on Rise of Resistance. I hope that's been helpful to you. And if you really like this video, I'd appreciate it if you hit the like button. If you thought it was really cool and you'd like to see more of the stuff that I've done, well, hit the subscribe button. And you know, it would really also help if you hit the bell notification. Other than that, like I always say, I don't like to say goodbye because I'm gonna see you real soon. So, see you bye.